I found my wife's secret phone during her accident. The messages I read made me wish I'd never looked. But what I discovered next was even worse. I thought I knew my wife. After 11 years of marriage, you think you know someone's patterns, their rhythms, the subtle shifts in their mood and behavior. Jennifer and I had built a life together. 2 kids, a nice house in the suburbs, stable careers, the kind of marriage that looked successful from the outside even if it had grown quietly distant on the inside. We weren't unhappy, exactly. We were just existing, going through motions. Roommates who occasionally remembered they were supposed to be romantic partners. But I never thought she'd betray me. Never imagined she was capable of the kind of deception I discovered the night of her accident. Hey Reddit, this is the story of how a car crash revealed my wife's affair, and how the identity of her lover destroyed not just my marriage, but my faith in the one thing I thought might save us. I'm Thomas, 37 years old, and what I'm about to tell you will make you question whether the person helping you fix your relationship is actually the one destroying it. You know that feeling when you realize your entire reality has been a carefully constructed lie? When evidence you weren't even looking for falls into your lap and shatters everything you thought was true. That's where this story goes. But let me start from the beginning, because to understand how completely Jennifer betrayed me, you need to understand what our marriage had become and how desperately I'd been trying to fix it. I met Jennifer 12 years ago when I was 25 and she was 23. I was working as a junior financial analyst at an investment firm in Denver, making about $55,000 a year. Jennifer had just graduated with a marketing degree and was starting at a digital marketing agency making $38,000. We met at a friend's rooftop party, bonded over shared love of hiking and craft beer, and started dating within weeks. Jennifer was smart, ambitious, funny. She had this energy that made everything feel exciting, turning grocery shopping into an adventure, making mundane weekends feel special. She was passionate about her work, talked constantly about campaigns she was developing, clients she was landing, the career she was building. I loved her drive and enthusiasm. We dated for 18 months before I proposed, got married in a beautiful outdoor ceremony when I was 27 and she was 25. The first few years were great. We were building careers, traveling when we could afford it, talking about our future. I got promoted to senior analyst making $75,000. Jennifer moved to a better agency making $52,000. We bought a 3-bedroom house in a family-friendly neighborhood, started talking seriously about kids. Our son Michael was born when I was 29 and Jennifer was 27. Our daughter Sophie arrived 2 years later when I was 31. 2 healthy, beautiful kids who became the center of our life. And that's when things started changing. Not dramatically, just gradually, almost imperceptibly at first. The shift from married couple to parents happened so naturally we didn't even notice we were losing ourselves in the process. Jennifer went back to work after 3 months of maternity leave with each kid. We split childcare as evenly as our schedules allowed. Daycare during work hours and weekends divided between us. We were both working full-time, both parenting intensely, both exhausted constantly. Our sex life diminished, from multiple times per week to once per week, then a few times per month, then, whenever we could summon the energy, which wasn't often, we'd fall into bed exhausted, set our alarms for early morning, and sleep without touching. Our conversations became transactional. Can you pick up Michael from soccer? Sophie needs new shoes. Did you pay the water bill? We're out of milk. Logistics and child management, rarely anything deeper. We stopped going on dates, stopped traveling together, stopped having the long conversations about dreams and goals and philosophy that had characterized our early relationship. We were co-parents and housemates who occasionally remembered we were supposed to be romantic partners. By the time I was 35 and Jennifer was 33, we'd been in this pattern for 4 years. Not unhappy, exactly. Not fighting or miserable, just distant. Disconnected, living parallel lives that intersected around the kids and household management, but rarely touched on anything personal or intimate. I tried to fix it, suggested date nights. Jennifer was too tired, suggested weekend getaways. She couldn't take time away from work deadlines, suggested couples activities, whether hiking or cooking classes or anything that might reconnect us. She was always busy, always had something else that needed her attention. Jennifer, I feel like we're drifting apart, I said one night after the kids were asleep. We have 2 young kids and demanding jobs, Thomas. Everyone drifts. That's what happens in marriage. You adjust your expectations. But I don't want to just adjust. I want to feel connected to you again. I miss you. I'm right here. I'm with you every day. What more do you want? I want you to want to spend time with me, to prioritize us, not just the kids and work. She sighed like I was being difficult. I can't manufacture energy I don't have. I'm doing my best to manage everything. If that's not enough for you, I don't know what to tell you. That conversation repeated in various forms over months. I'd express feeling disconnected. She'd say she was overwhelmed and I was adding pressure. I'd back off feeling guilty for wanting more from someone who was clearly stretched thin. 6 months ago, I suggested marriage counseling. Maybe talking to someone professional could help us communicate better, figure out how to reconnect. Jennifer resisted initially. We don't need therapy. We're fine. We're just in a busy life stage. We're not fine. We barely talk. We haven't been intimate in 2 months. I feel like I'm losing you and I don't know how to fix it. She must have seen something in my face, desperation maybe, or genuine pain, because she finally, okay, if it means that much to you, we can try therapy. But I'm telling you, we're going to spend money to have someone tell us what I already know. This is normal for parents of young kids. We started seeing Marcus Chen 2 weeks. He came highly recommended. Licensed marriage and family therapist, 15 years of experience, glowing reviews online about how he'd saved multiple marriages. His office was in a professional building downtown, decorated in calming neutrals with comfortable furniture and soothing nature sounds playing softly. Marcus was in his early 40s, well-dressed, articulate, with an easy manner that put you at ease immediately. In our first session, he asked about our relationship history, our current struggles, what we hope to gain from therapy. I was honest. I feel like we're roommates, not partners. We've lost intimacy and connection. I want to feel like we're a team again, not just people managing a household together. Jennifer's version. Thomas feels neglected because I'm focused on work and kids. I'm doing the best I can with limited energy. I think his expectations are unrealistic for this life stage. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. It's common for couples with young children to experience this disconnect. The good news is you're both here, both willing to work on it. That's the foundation we need. Let's explore how we can help you both feel heard and valued. We started weekly sessions, 50 minutes every Thursday at 6 p.m. My parents would watch the kids. Jennifer and I would drive separately from our respective offices, meet at Marcus's office, and spend an hour talking about our marriage. The sessions felt productive initially. Marcus would guide conversations, help us communicate without getting defensive, teach us techniques for staying connected despite busy schedules. He assigned homework, weekly date nights, daily check-ins, physical affection exercises. Jennifer seemed more engaged than I'd expected. She'd participate actively in sessions, take notes on Marcus's suggestions, talk about implementing changes. For the first time in months, I felt hopeful, like maybe this would actually work, like maybe we could rebuild what we'd lost. But the improvements never materialized at home. We'd have a productive therapy session, Jennifer would seem motivated, then nothing would change. Date nights wouldn't happen. She'd work late or claim exhaustion. Check-ins would be brief and superficial. Physical affection remained non-existent. We just talked about making these things priority in therapy, I'd say. Why aren't we actually doing them? I'm trying, Thomas, but I can't just magically create time and energy. Be patient. Change takes time. So I was patient. We kept going to therapy. Marcus kept giving us tools and strategies. Jennifer kept engaging in sessions and not implementing anything at home. 3 months in, I started wondering if therapy was actually helping or if we were just paying someone $200 per week to witness our dysfunction. Then Jennifer's work schedule changed. Her agency landed a major client that required evening meetings. I'll be working late Tuesdays and Thursdays for the next few months, she announced. This account is huge for my career. I need to be fully present for it. Thursdays? That's our therapy night. I know. We'll have to reschedule therapy, or you can go without me for a while. This client is non-negotiable. Jennifer, we're in marriage counseling specifically to fix our relationship. How can you prioritize a client over that? This client could lead to a promotion, to financial security for our family. That's not me choosing work over us. That's me providing for our kids' future. She framed it in a way that made me feel selfish for objecting. So I called Marcus to reschedule. He suggested I continue coming weekly while Jennifer couldn't, and we could do joint sessions when her schedule allowed. So I went to therapy alone for the next 2 months. Talked to Marcus about my frustrations, my loneliness, my fear that Jennifer had checked out of our marriage. He was supportive, empathetic, helpful, gave me strategies for managing my emotions, for approaching Jennifer differently, for not taking her distance personally. She's dealing with a lot, Marcus would say. Career pressure, parenting stress, trying to meet everyone's needs including yours. Try to approach her with compassion rather than criticism. I tried. God, I tried. I'd come home from therapy with renewed commitment to being understanding, patient. supportive. To not pressuring Jennifer for connection she wasn't ready to give. Meanwhile, Jennifer's Tuesday and Thursday late meetings became routine. She'd leave work at 5 p.m., text me around 7 p.m. that the meeting was running long, come home at 9 or 10 p.m. looking tired. I'd ask how it went. Fine. Exhausting. Lots to do. That's all I'd get. She seemed different on those nights. Distracted, but also energized? Like, despite being tired, she had this underlying current of engagement I rarely saw anymore. I'd catch her smiling at her phone, looking satisfied in ways that had nothing to do with me or our family. I told myself I was reading too much into it. She was excited about work. That was good, better than the exhausted disconnection I'd gotten used to. 5 weeks ago, Marcus scheduled a joint session with Jennifer. She'd finally carved out time, said the client project had stabilized enough for her to make therapy again. That session felt weird. Jennifer and Marcus had this ease with each other that seemed too familiar. They'd reference things I wasn't part of, like we talked about, and remember when you mentioned, suggesting they'd had conversations outside our sessions. Have you two talked outside of joint sessions? I asked. I called Marcus once for advice about managing our schedule conflicts, Jennifer said smoothly. Just a quick consultation. He was helpful. Marcus nodded. Occasional brief phone check-ins with clients aren't unusual, especially during periods when joint sessions aren't possible. It helps maintain continuity of care. It seemed reasonable, but something about it bothered me in ways I couldn't articulate. 2 weeks ago was our last joint session before everything imploded. We talked about physical intimacy, or lack thereof. Marcus suggested we schedule specific times rather than waiting for spontaneous moments that weren't happening. Schedule sex? Jennifer laughed. That sounds horrible. It sounds practical, Marcus countered gently. Romance is wonderful, but sometimes life with young kids requires intentionality. Scheduled intimacy can actually create anticipation and priority. We agreed to try it. Planned for that Friday night. Kids at Jennifer's parents', just us at home, time explicitly set aside for connection. Friday came. I left work early, picked up flowers, ordered dinner from Jennifer's favorite restaurant. Got home at 6 p.m. feeling nervous but hopeful. Maybe tonight would be different. Maybe we'd finally reconnect. Jennifer texted at 6:30. Running late. Meeting went long. Be home by 8. By 8:15, I'd eaten alone, put the flowers in water, started wondering if she'd forgotten our plans. By 9 p.m., I was angry. By 9:30, I was calling her phone. No answer. She came home at 10:15 p.m. Apologetic, but not nearly sorry enough. The meeting ran really late. I'm exhausted. Rain check on tonight? We specifically planned this. You knew how important it was. How could you just blow it off? I didn't blow it off. Work happened. Why are you making this such a big deal? Because it's always something with you. Every attempt I make to fix our marriage, you find a reason it can't happen. I'm starting to think you don't actually want to fix anything. She went to bed angry. So did I. We didn't speak the next morning beyond necessary logistics around the kids. That was our marriage 2 weeks ago. Fractured, distant, held together by kids and shared assets and the inertia of 11 years together, but fundamentally broken in ways I was starting to think might be irreparable. Then came the accident. Last Tuesday evening, Jennifer had another late client meeting. I was home with the kids, helping Michael with homework, making dinner. Around 7:30 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Thomas Harrison? Are you Jennifer Harrison's husband? My stomach dropped. Yes. What's wrong? This is Denver Health Medical Center. Your wife was brought in by ambulance about 20 minutes ago. She was in a serious motor vehicle accident. Can you come to the emergency department immediately? My hands started shaking. Is she okay? What happened? The doctor will give you more details when you arrive. Please come as soon as possible. I called my parents, asked them to come stay with Michael and Sophie immediately, grabbed my keys, and drove to the hospital with my heart pounding. The 15-minute drive felt like hours. My mind raced through worst-case scenarios. Jennifer dead, paralyzed, permanently disabled. Please let her be okay. Please. At the ER, I was directed to a desk where a nurse took my information. Your wife is in surgery. The doctor will update you as soon as possible. She was hit by a drunk driver who ran a red light. Serious internal injuries, possible spinal trauma. The surgical team is working on her now. Surgery, internal injuries, spinal trauma. The words didn't fully register. I sat in the waiting room, numb, staring at my phone, unable to process that hours ago I'd been angry at Jennifer and now she might be fighting for her life. A hospital staff member approached with a plastic bag. These are your wife's belongings from the accident. We need you to hold on to them. I took the bag automatically. Her purse, her work bag, her shoes, her jewelry. I set it on the chair next to me, hands still shaking. Then I noticed something odd. In the clear plastic bag, there were 2 phones. Jennifer's regular iPhone in its familiar purple case, and another phone, a black Samsung I'd never seen before. I pulled both phones out, stared at the Samsung. Why did Jennifer have a second phone? Maybe it was a work phone. Her company could have issued one for the new client. That would make sense. I pressed the power button. The screen lit up. No company logo, no work configuration. Just a standard lock screen with a photo of mountains at sunset. Jennifer's birthday didn't unlock it. Our anniversary didn't work. I tried our kids' birthdays. Nothing. Then I tried Sophie's birthday backwards. 12/18. The phone unlocked. The home screen showed several app notifications. Dozens of unread text messages. A dating app I didn't recognize. Photo gallery. Everything you'd find on a personal phone, not a work device. My hands were trembling as I opened the text messages. The most recent conversation was with a contact saved simply as M. The preview showed, "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've been thinking about you all day." I opened the thread, scrolled up, started reading, and my entire world disintegrated. The messages went back 8 months, hundreds of them, intimate, explicit, planning meetups during her late client meetings, discussing hotel rooms and stolen moments and how careful they needed to be so I wouldn't find out. "I can't keep doing this," one message from Jennifer read 2 months ago. "I feel horrible lying to Thomas." M's response, "I know, but what we have is too special to give up. He doesn't make you feel the way I do." Jennifer, "You're right. I've never felt this. Alive. This desired. Thomas and I have been dead for years. This is the only thing keeping me going." I couldn't breathe. Literally felt like my chest was collapsing. My wife, the woman I'd been desperately trying to reconnect with, the woman I'd begged to go to therapy with me, had been having an affair for 8 months. The late client meetings weren't client meetings. They were affair meetings. The Tuesday and Thursday schedule that conveniently coincided with our therapy? Not a coincidence. Everything she'd told me was a lie. I scrolled further, reading message after message, plans for hotels downtown, discussions of what they do to each other. Jennifer describing how she'd tell me she was working late, how easy it was to deceive me. "He actually believes me when I say I'm at a client meeting," one message read. "He's so trusting it's almost sad." My vision blurred. Sad? My trust in my wife was sad? I kept reading, torturing myself with every message. Found photos, intimate photos of Jennifer I'd never seen, sent to this mysterious M, photos taken in hotel rooms, bathrooms, cars. My wife, exposed and vulnerable with someone who wasn't me. Then I found the most devastating exchange from 3 weeks ago. "Jennifer, I think I'm falling in love with you." M, "I've been in love with you for months. Every session with you both, all I can think about is being with you instead." Every session, with you both, session. My mind went blank, then filled with horrible, impossible understanding. I scrolled back to earlier in the conversation, found a message from 6 months ago, right after we'd started therapy. M, "Today's session was hard. Sitting there listening to him talk about wanting to fix your marriage when all I could think about was last night with you." The timestamp was right after one of our joint therapy sessions. M, Marcus, our marriage counselor. Jennifer was having an affair with Marcus Chen, the therapist we'd hired to save our marriage, the man I'd trusted to help us reconnect, the professional who was supposed to be neutral, ethical, focused on our well-being. He'd been sleeping with my wife for 8 months while counseling us. While I paid him $200 per week to fix my marriage, he was destroying it by sleeping with my wife. I sat in that emergency room waiting area, surrounded by other people's emergencies, holding evidence of my wife's affair with our marriage counselor, and I felt something inside me break permanently. The trust I'd had in Jennifer, in Marcus, in the idea that people who claimed to help you actually had your best interests at heart, shattered completely. Everything I'd believed about my marriage, about my wife's character, about the sanctity of therapy, revealed itself as a lie. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been minutes or hours. Eventually, a doctor approached. "Mr. Harrison, I'm Dr. Patel. I operated on your wife." I looked up, barely processing her. Words. "Is she alive?" "Yes. The surgery went well. She had a ruptured spleen and internal bleeding, but we've repaired the damage. She also has compression fractures in 2 vertebrae, but no spinal cord damage. She'll need extensive recovery time, but she should make a full recovery." Relief and devastation warred in my chest. She was alive. She'd betrayed me for 8 months with our marriage counselor. She was okay. She'd been lying to my face while I begged her to work on our marriage. She'd survive. Our marriage wouldn't. "When can I see her?" She's in recovery now, should be awake within the hour. We'll move her to a room and you can see her there. I thanked Dr. Patel numbly, sat back down, looked at the two phones in my hands. Jennifer would wake up soon, see me, expect me to be the concerned, loving husband, grateful she'd survived. She had no idea I'd found the phone, that I knew everything, that I'd read hundreds of messages between her and Marcus, that our marriage had already ended even if she didn't know it yet. 90 minutes later, a nurse told me Jennifer was awake and in a room. I could see her now. I walked to her room slowly, both phones in my jacket pockets, pushed open the door. Jennifer was in the hospital bed, bruised, bandaged, hooked up to IVs and monitors. She looked small and vulnerable and hurt. When she saw me, relief flooded her face. Thomas, thank God. I was so scared. I walked to her bedside, didn't touch her, just stood there, looking down at the woman I'd loved for 12 years, who'd been betraying me for the last 8 months with the man I'd trusted to save our marriage. How are you feeling? My voice sounded hollow, even to me. Everything hurts. They said my spleen ruptured, that I'm lucky to be alive. You are lucky. She reached for my hand. I didn't take it. Thomas, are you okay? I pulled both phones from my pockets, held them up so she could see. Her regular iPhone and the secret Samsung. The color drained from her face. Her eyes went wide with realization and then fear. Where did you get that? She whispered. The hospital gave me your belongings. Both phones were in your purse. Silence. Just the beeping of monitors and her shallow breathing. Thomas, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain 8 months of messages with Marcus? Our marriage counselor, Marcus. Can you explain planning hookups during fake client meetings? Can you explain texting him about how easy it is to lie to me? Tears started streaming down her face. Please, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I read everything, Jennifer. Every message, every photo, every plan you made to betray me while I was at home with our kids believing you were working. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. You never meant for me to find out. There's a difference. She was crying openly now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no forgiveness, no connection. Just cold, empty, devastation. You begged me to go to therapy with you, she sobbed. You made such a big deal about fixing our marriage, and Marcus understood me in ways you couldn't. It just happened. We didn't plan it. You've been planning it for 8 months. Every Tuesday and Thursday while I sat at home trying to be understanding, trying to be patient, trying to be everything you needed. You were with him. What are you going to do? I looked at her, injured, crying, afraid, and felt nothing but the cold certainty of what came next. I'm going to wait until you're recovered, and then I'm going to divorce you, and I'm going to make sure Marcus loses his license for this. You both destroyed our marriage. Now you'll both face the consequences. Thomas, please. I turned and walked out of the room, left her crying in that hospital bed, went home to my kids who had no idea their mother had just survived a car crash and their parents' marriage had died in the same night. I sat in my driveway for 20 minutes, both phones still in my pockets, trying to understand how I'd gotten here. This morning, I'd been a husband in a troubled marriage, desperately trying to fix things through therapy. Tonight, I was a man whose wife had been sleeping with their marriage counselor for 8 months, using therapy sessions as alibis. Lying with such casual ease, it made me question every truth she'd ever told me. Jennifer had survived the accident, but our marriage hadn't. That had died months ago. I'd just been too trusting, too focused on fixing things, too blind to see what was happening right in front of me. The affair wasn't just adultery. It was a systematic betrayal of everything I'd believed in. The counselor I'd trusted to help us had violated every ethical boundary to sleep with my wife. The wife I'd trusted with my life had violated every marital vow to sleep with the therapist I'd begged her to see. They'd both taken my trust, my desperate, genuine desire to save my marriage, and used it as a shield for their affair. And now, sitting in my driveway at midnight with 2 phones full of evidence, I knew exactly what I had to do next. I didn't go back to the hospital that night. I went home, checked on Michael and Sophie sleeping peacefully in their beds, thanked my parents for staying with them, and then sat alone in my office staring at Jennifer's secret phone. The evidence was overwhelming. 8 months of detailed messages, hotel receipts, explicit photos, plans coordinated around our therapy schedule, and most damning of all, the professional betrayal. Marcus Chen, licensed marriage and family therapist, had violated every ethical boundary in his profession by sleeping with a client. Not just any client, a client whose husband was also his patient. A couple he was supposed to be helping save their marriage, not actively destroying it through an affair with one spouse. I spent that night making copies of everything, backed up the entire phone to my laptop, saved all messages, photos, and call logs to an encrypted cloud drive, printed key message exchanges, created a detailed timeline of the affair with dates, locations, and documented lies Jennifer had told to cover her tracks. By 3 a.m., I had a comprehensive file of evidence. By 5 a.m., I'd researched therapist licensing laws in Colorado. By 6 a.m., I knew exactly what Marcus had done wrong and what consequences he'd face. Sexual relationships with current clients are strictly prohibited by the Colorado Board of Licensed Professional Counselors. It's considered one of the most serious ethical violations, grounds for immediate license suspension and potential permanent revocation. There's no gray area, no room for "it just happened." Differential between therapist and client makes consent inherently compromised. Marcus hadn't just had an affair with Jennifer. He'd exploited his position of trust and authority to seduce a vulnerable client he was supposed to be helping. The fact that her husband was also his client made it exponentially worse. At 7 a.m., I got Michael and Sophie ready for school, told them Mommy had been in a car accident but was okay and recovering at the hospital. They were concerned but not panicked. Kids are resilient when you present information calmly. After dropping them at school, I called my office and took emergency family leave. Then I called divorce attorneys. The third attorney I spoke with, Rachel Morrison, understood immediately. "Your wife had an affair with your marriage counselor? The same therapist treating both of you?" "Yes, for 8 months. I have documentation, hundreds of messages, photos, hotel receipts, everything. That's not just infidelity, that's professional misconduct of the highest order. Have you reported him to the licensing board?" "Not yet. I wanted to consult with you first about the divorce, then handle the licensing complaint." "Smart. Let's meet today. Bring all your documentation. This changes everything about how we approach your divorce." I met Rachel at 11 a.m. in her downtown office, spent 2 hours walking through everything: the state of my marriage, the therapy we'd sought, the affair I'd discovered, the evidence I'd compiled. Rachel reviewed the messages, her expression darkening. "This is egregious. Marcus Chen didn't just violate ethical guidelines, he systematically betrayed his professional obligations while accepting payment from you to fix your marriage. That's fraud in addition to misconduct. What does this mean for my divorce? It means we have significant leverage. Colorado is a no-fault divorce state, so the affair itself doesn't directly impact asset division, but it absolutely impacts custody. A parent who conducted a months-long deceptive affair, lying to their spouse and children about their whereabouts, demonstrates poor judgment and prioritization. Combined with the professional nature of the affair, with your therapist, during therapy hours, it paints a picture of someone who makes deeply irresponsible choices. I want primary custody. I want to keep the house. I don't want to pay significant spousal support to someone who betrayed me this completely. We can argue for all of that, especially primary custody. Judges don't look kindly on parents who use childcare time for affairs. Your wife told you she was working late, but she was actually at hotels with your therapist. That's deception that directly impacted the children's care and your ability to co-parent honestly. What about Marcus? What happens to him? That's separate from the divorce, but equally important. You need to file a formal complaint with the Colorado Board of Licensed Professional Counselors. They investigate ethical violations. Given the evidence you have, he'll almost certainly face suspension at minimum, possibly permanent license revocation. Good. He destroyed my marriage while I paid him to save it. He should face consequences. Rachel helped me prepare the divorce petition that afternoon. We filed for dissolution of marriage, citing irretrievable breakdown. Requested primary custody of Michael and Sophie, requested I retain the family home, and requested minimal spousal support given Jennifer's earning capacity and the circumstances of the marriage's end. Then I went home and prepared the licensing board complaint. The Colorado Board of Licensed Professional Counselors has a detailed online complaint process. I filled out every field meticulously. Therapist's name: Marcus Chen, license JAR LMFT 4721. Nature of complaint: sexual relationship with current client, exploitation of therapeutic relationship, failure to maintain professional boundaries, fraud, accepting payment for marital therapy while conducting affair with one spouse. I attached 47 pages of documentation, message excerpts, photos proving the affair, hotel receipts showing dates that coincided with our therapy sessions. A timeline demonstrating the affair began within weeks of our first session and continued throughout our 6 months of therapy. I submitted the complaint at 8 p.m., sat back in my chair, exhausted but grimly satisfied. Marcus's career was about to implode. Jennifer called from the hospital that evening. I didn't answer. She called 3 more times. I blocked her number. She had her mother call. "Thomas, Jennifer needs you. She's alone in the hospital after a traumatic accident. Whatever problems you're having can wait until she's recovered. Your daughter had an 8-month affair with our marriage counselor. While I was desperately trying to save our marriage, she was sleeping with the therapist I hired to help us. No, this can't wait. She made a mistake. People make mistakes. She almost died in that accident. And I'm glad she didn't die, but her survival doesn't erase 8 months of deliberate deception and betrayal. I'm divorcing her. That's not changing. I hung up, blocked her. Number 2. Jennifer was released from the hospital 3 days later. Her mother picked her up, took her to their house to recover. Jennifer texted from a new number. Please, can we talk? I know I messed up, but we can fix this. For the kids. I responded once. We're not fixing anything. You'll be served with divorce papers this week. All communication should go through attorneys. The process server delivered the divorce petition to Jennifer at her parents' house 5 days after the accident. Her mother called me, furious. You filed for divorce while she's recovering from major surgery? What kind of man are you? The kind who won't stay married to someone who betrayed him for 8 months with our marriage counselor. Jennifer's recovery doesn't change what she... Jennifer called from yet another new number, crying. Thomas, please, let me explain. It wasn't what you think. I was confused, and Marcus took advantage. Marcus took advantage? You sent him explicit photos. You told him you were falling in love with him. You coordinated hookups around our therapy schedule. You laughed about how easy it was to lie to me. That's not being taken advantage of. That's active, willing participation in destroying our marriage. I made a terrible mistake. I was unhappy and he was there, and it just happened. For 8 months? It just happened for 8 months? No. You made a choice. Repeatedly. Every Tuesday and Thursday when you told me you had late client meetings, you chose Marcus over our marriage. Every therapy session where you sat next to me, pretending to work on our relationship while sleeping with our therapist, that was a choice. You don't get to call it a mistake now that you've been caught. What about Michael and Sophie? You're going to destroy our family? You destroyed our family the moment you started sleeping with Marcus. I'm just making it official. 10 days after I filed the complaint, Marcus received notification from the licensing board that he was under investigation. His practice was suspended pending the investigation's outcome. All his current clients were notified that their sessions were canceled and they'd need to find new therapists. I learned this from Rachel, who'd been monitoring the licensing board's public records. Chen's been suspended. That's faster than usual. Suggests the board found your evidence compelling enough to warrant immediate action. Good. Marcus tried to call me. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Thomas, I know you're angry. I understand. But please, can we talk? What happened between Jennifer and me? It was complicated. I never meant to hurt you. Please don't destroy my career over this. I have a family to support, clients who depend on me. Please. I deleted the voicemail without finishing it. Marcus was worried about his career and his clients. He should have thought about that before sleeping with my wife for 8 months. 2 weeks after the divorce filing, Rachel scheduled a preliminary custody hearing. Jennifer's attorney argued that Jennifer should have primary custody since she'd been the more present parent, working fewer hours, handling more school pickups and doctor appointments. Rachel destroyed that argument systematically. Mrs. Harrison claimed to be working late twice a week for months, but she wasn't working. She was conducting an affair. During that time, Mr. Harrison was actually parenting the children while believing his wife was at work. Mrs. Harrison's deception means she was less present than Mr. Harrison believed and demonstrates a pattern of dishonesty that directly impacted the children's care. She presented evidence, message threads showing Jennifer planning hotel meetups during what she told me were work obligations, receipts proving she'd been at hotels downtown when she'd claimed to be at client meetings. The judge was not impressed. Mrs. Harrison, you told your husband you were working late, but you were actually conducting an extramarital affair while your husband cared for your children based on false information. Jennifer's attorney tried to argue that personal relationship issues shouldn't impact custody, but the judge cut her off. The issue isn't the affair itself. The issue is the deception. Mrs. Harrison consistently lied about her whereabouts, causing her husband to assume childcare responsibilities she'd claimed as her own. That's relevant to custody arrangements. Temporary orders granted me primary custody, 60-40 split, with Jennifer getting alternate weekends and one weeknight. She'd have to find her own housing since I was remaining in the family home with the children. Jennifer was devastated. Her attorney filed for reconsideration, arguing the custody split was punitive. Rachel responded with more evidence of Jennifer's deception and the impact on the children's stability. The reconsideration was denied. Meanwhile, the licensing board investigation continued. Marcus hired an attorney, tried to argue that the relationship had been consensual, that it developed naturally, that he'd never used his position as therapist to coerce Jennifer. The board wasn't buying it. The power differential between therapist and client makes true consent impossible. The fact that Marcus had continued treating both of us while sleeping with Jennifer was damning. The evidence of messages discussing therapy sessions. Today's session was hard. Listening to him talk about wanting to fix your marriage when all I could think about was last night with you proved Marcus had been actively deceiving me while accepting payment for therapy. 6 weeks after my initial complaint, the board issued its findings. Marcus Chen's license was suspended for a minimum of 3 years, pending completion of ethics training and supervised practice. In practical terms, his career was over. 3 years without being able to practice meant losing all his clients, his office, his professional reputation. Most therapists never recover from that kind of suspension. Marcus's wife filed for divorce 2 weeks after the suspension was announced. Apparently, she hadn't known about the affair either. Jennifer had destroyed 2 marriages, not just one. Jennifer moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment, using savings and help from her parents. She returned to work 4 weeks after the accident, still recovering but needing income. Her marketing agency was supportive, but she'd lost the major client she'd claimed required all those late meetings. Turns out they'd noticed her declining performance and moved to another agency. The irony was brutal. Jennifer had sacrificed our marriage for an affair she'd claimed was during work meetings, but the affair had actually cost her the client she'd used as cover. Our divorce proceeded over the next 4 months. Jennifer fought for more custody, for the house, for spousal support. Rachel blocked every attempt with evidence of Jennifer's deception and its impact on our family. The final divorce decree, issued 6 months after Jennifer's accident, primary custody to Thomas, 60-40 split. Thomas retains the family home. Jennifer pays $400-month child support based on the custody split and income disparity. Minimal spousal support, $600-month for 2 years only, given Jennifer's earning capacity. Assets split roughly equally after accounting for the house. Jennifer had expected to receive significant support, possibly keep the house, likely get primary custody. Instead, she was paying child support, renting an apartment, seeing her kids less than half the time. The social consequences were equally devastating. Our friend group learned about the affair with our therapist and almost universally sided with me. People were disgusted not just by the infidelity, but by the professional betrayal. "She slept with your marriage counselor?" my friend David said, horrified. "The guy you were paying to save your marriage? That's sociopathic." Jennifer lost most of her friends. People who might have been sympathetic to an affair in other circumstances couldn't forgive the therapist aspect. It was too calculated, too cruel, too much of a violation of trust. Marcus left Denver entirely, his professional reputation destroyed, his marriage ended, his license suspended. He moved to another state to try to rebuild his life somewhere people didn't know his story. Jennifer tried to date, but her reputation followed her. Men would be interested initially, then learn about the affair with the therapist, and back away. You cheated on your husband with your marriage counselor while he was trying to save your marriage? That's messed up. 1 year after the divorce, my life had stabilized into a new normal. I had Michael and Sophie most of the time, had sold our old house and bought a smaller place better suited to our new family structure. The kids adjusted. They were sad about the divorce, but thrived with the stability and honesty I provided. I started therapy myself, with a female therapist this time, someone my attorney carefully vetted, to process the betrayal and rebuild my ability to trust. "You did everything right," Dr. Sarah told me in one session. "You tried to save your marriage through proper channels. You sought professional help. You communicated your needs. The fact that your wife and therapist betrayed that trust isn't your failure, it's theirs. I keep wondering if I should have seen it sooner. The signs were there. Maybe. But you were operating on the reasonable assumption that your wife was being honest and your therapist was being ethical. You trusted the right people in the right context. They violated that trust in the worst possible ways. That's not on you." 2 years after the divorce, I started dating again, slowly, cautiously, with trust issues I had to openly acknowledge. Met a woman named Laura through friends. She was divorced herself, understood the complications of blended families and damaged trust. I found out my wife was having an affair with our marriage counselor, I told her on our 3rd date. "So I have significant trust issues with therapists and relationships in general." Laura's response, "That's horrible and completely understandable. Trust takes time to rebuild. I'm patient." 3 years after the divorce, Jennifer was still struggling. She'd moved twice, changed jobs, dated several men briefly. She was still seeing Michael and Sophie on her custody schedule, but the kids increasingly preferred being with me. They remembered the chaos of the divorce, even if they didn't understand all the details. "Mom seems sad a lot," Sophie said one evening, like she's not really happy. I'm sorry she's sad, but sometimes people make choices that have lasting consequences. Mom made some choices that hurt our family, and she's dealing with the results of those choices. Is that why you and Mom got divorced? Part of it, yes. Mom wasn't honest with me about some important things. And when people aren't honest in a marriage, the marriage breaks. 5 years after discovering the affair, I'm 42, Michael is 13, Sophie is 11. We're doing well. I'm still in therapy occasionally to maintain my mental health. The kids are thriving. My relationship with Laura is strong and built on honest communication. Jennifer, now 40, seems to be finding stability. She's been dating someone seriously for over a year, someone who knows her history and chose to accept it. She's still working in marketing, living modestly, seeing the kids regularly, if not as often as she'd like. She apologized once, about 3 years after the divorce. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know, I'm sorry. What I did was inexcusable. You were trying to save our marriage, and I destroyed it. I betrayed you in the worst possible way. I understand why you'll never forgive me, but I needed to say it. I acknowledged her apology, but didn't offer forgiveness. Some betrayals are too profound for forgiveness. Jennifer hadn't just had an affair. She'd weaponized the one thing I'd believed could save our marriage, turning therapy sessions into alibis for cheating with the therapist himself. Marcus, I heard through mutual connections, eventually got his license reinstated after completing the required ethics training. But he never returned to couples therapy. The scandal had permanently damaged his reputation. He works in a different field now. I think something in corporate consulting. His expertise in relationship dynamics irreparably tainted by his spectacular failure to maintain professional boundaries. Looking back at that night in the emergency room, holding Jennifer's secret phone, reading messages that destroyed my understanding of my marriage, I remember feeling like my world had ended. In some ways, it had. The life I thought I had, the marriage I thought I was saving, the trust I thought was foundational, all of it revealed as illusion. But from that ending came something better. A life built on honesty rather than deception. A relationship with my kids that's closer because we faced hardship together and I never lied to them. Eventually, a partnership with Laura built on shared understanding that trust is earned through consistency and honesty, not demanded or assumed. Jennifer taught me that trusting the wrong people can destroy your life, but recovery taught me that trusting the right people, starting with yourself, can rebuild it into something authentic. The affair wasn't just Jennifer and Marcus's betrayal of me. It was their betrayal of their own integrity. Jennifer betrayed her marriage vows, her children's trust, and her own stated values. Marcus betrayed his professional ethics, his other clients who trusted him, and the fundamental purpose of his career, to help people, not exploit them. Both paid for those betrayals. Jennifer lost her marriage, much of her custody, her social circle, and years of stability. Marcus lost his practice, his reputation, effectively his career as a marriage therapist. I lost my marriage too, but I gained something more valuable: absolute clarity about my boundaries, my worth, and the kind of people I allow close to me. 7 years later, the pain has faded to a dull ache. I rarely think about Jennifer's betrayal anymore, except when telling my story to someone new who asks about my divorce. The rage and devastation have been processed, understood, integrated into who I am now. Someone stronger, wiser, less naive about human nature, but not cynical. The final lesson from all of this? When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Jennifer showed me through 8 months of messages that she was someone capable of profound deception. Marcus showed me through his actions that professional ethics meant nothing compared to personal desire. I believed what the evidence showed me, filed for divorce, reported Marcus to the licensing board, protected my children, rebuilt my life. And in doing so, I proved that betrayal, however devastating, doesn't have to define you. How you respond to betrayal, that defines you. I responded with evidence, strategy, and boundaries. Jennifer and Marcus responded with excuses, blame shifting, and denial. 7 years later, it's clear who made the right choice.